Energy regulator NERSA has now come under fire. The regulator is hearing final submissions on Eskom's bid to hike prices by more than 22%. An application for nearly 13% has already been approved this year. The DA accused NERSA of being weak and wrong to even consider the additional 9.5% that Eskom now wants in the same year. NGOs then lashed out at the regulator's decision to only conduct the hearings in Gauteng. The argument has been that this is a selective reopener for the 50 billion rand which Eskom says it needs urgently to reduce load shedding frequency. Farmers say they have no choice but to push the cost of the higher tariffs onto food. Consumer businesses submitted that Eskom's poor governance and inability to deliver projects like Medupi on time should not be pushed on to electricity users. Well, for more now, we cross to our reporter Aldrin Sampear, who has been following the hearings at Nasrec in southern Johannesburg this morning. Good afternoon to you, Aldrin. So NERSA is being attacked. It's in the line of fire. What are some of the main points being made today?
Well, good afternoon, Francis. Just before the lunch break, actually, we had a submission made by the Automotive Association of South Africa saying that NERSA, this hearing could be unlawful, and whatever outcome NERSA comes to, or decision NERSA comes to, could be unlawful, considering that not enough time has been granted to some of the participants who are making these representations, and not enough information has been given to them to make sure that all the submissions that they make are in depth. There's also been concern around this selective reopener. Some of the presenters saying that NERSA shouldn't have granted Eskom permission to have these hearings again, considering that there's the MYPD3, which has already been confirmed, and of course that 12.69%, which had already been approved by NERSA previously.
NERSA may be stuck between a rock and a hard place, Aldrin, because we are hearing that it's under pressure to grant this hike because Eskom is in such a dire situation.
And that's where NERSA finds itself, because first of all, they need to consider how much money Eskom needs to make sure that the power is kept on and make sure that the lights are kept on and make sure that the economy doesn't suffer. But some of the submissions that we've heard here is that an electricity hike, for instance, would mean that the cost of food would increase. We also heard from one of the presenters here saying that in the year 2000, while he was living with his wife, his children, as well as his helper, his electricity bill came to around about 700 rand per month. And now, to fast forward to 2015, his electricity bill now could stand up to 2,700 just because of the electricity increases that have been happening over these number of years. Electricity-intensive industries also crying foul, saying that under these increases, this could mean that they had to cut some jobs.
Sure. So it could be argued that without this hike, Eskom just won't be able to do what it has to do, this huge rollout of new power plants, also just keeping the lights on at the moment. That's what the power utility is arguing. But funds do have to come from somewhere. If it's not a tariff hike, is anybody giving alternative suggestions like the Chamber of Mines did yesterday?
Well, some of the submissions that we've heard, for instance, is that there could be a time of day use. Similar like with the e-toll system, you know, when you drive during the day, that means that during the time where electricity is being used a lot, same when you're on the road during the day, that means you pay a higher price when you're on Gauteng's roads. And when electricity is not being used a lot, when you're not on the road that much, that means that you pay a little less. Those are some of the submissions that have been coming through. Another suggestion is that Eskom should continue with the load shedding and rather stay away from increasing the tariff price, because some of these manufacturers and some of the businesses saying is that they'd rather use electricity sparingly than have to pay higher prices.
Aldrin, what happens from here?
While we'll hear more submissions, we'll also expect COSATU to make their submissions, and then later on, the acting CEO of Eskom, Brian Molefe, will make his reactionary remarks around some of the submissions that have been made here.
All right, thank you so much, Aldrin Sampear. At those hearings on that whopper of an electricity price hike that Eskom wants, currently being held in NERSA, and most of the submissions very vehemently against any such increase.